How are you? Good? It's nice. This is the last morning of the festival, of the third edition of Oslo International Acting Festival. So you're the happy survivors of a week of people talking. Thank you for being here. I hope this was a nice week for you. As part of the program today, we made a sort of shift of roles. As you know, Øystein and we curate this festival together, many together for 3 years. And so today we're going to sort of talk about this book, Skuespillerkunsten, The Art of Acting, of Øystein Stene. Because, you know, as the result of all these festivals also that we've done together and other things.
Or also opposite.
Opposite, as an opposition.
No, not opposite. I'm not sure if the research is a consequence of the festival, but also
or the festival,
yeah.
is the consequence. But anyway, Øystein wrote a book that we would like to sort of present today, and would like to talk a bit about it, and because I think it's a very unique book, and yes, so I'm very happy that we have the chance to do it. So, in order to do that, we switch a bit role for the last day. So I'm going to be the one interviewing him. Yes.
So I think the audience is starting to get a bit tired of hearing me talking, since it's such a limited crowd.
So today is going to be me making some kind of contextualization. So Øystein Stene, for those that don't know, is a literature scientist, and so his entrance to the field of acting and performance is from literature. He's a director and a writer, both a novelist and playwright, and has been working in the theater school now for how many years?
Full time since 2006, I think.
Yes.
But 2001
Yes.
beginning.
So a few years. So he's been also working with actors in education. So as a person that didn't study acting and is not an actor, but worked for many years very close to actors, both in education and artistically, and had a lot of colleagues that were talking about acting, taught acting. Øystein became quite curious about what is the specific of the art of acting, and what are the practice, and what is the relationship between the theory and the practice. This also as a reaction, I think, to a lot of dialogues with students that were in a sort of very vulnerable process during the school, that I usually use Øystein as one of the sort of person to talk and to reflect with. So I think he did something quite unique actually for a literature scientist, because he started to attend workshops, not just read books about it or interview people, talk about it, but the first thing you actually did was to attend a lot of workshops for about 6-7 years, if I'm correct. Which is also the way we met each other. So he started to research on the problem of acting and the specificity of acting, and both on a theoretical level and on a practical level, in order to try to sort of get a grasp of what does it mean to be an actor, and what is the thinking, the specific thinking of the art of acting. And in this research, I think what happened was, out of this curiosity, that Øystein realized that there's not so much literature that is very sort of broad and is very specific and sort of make an introduction to the art of acting as such. I could read a book or something that sort of give me an idea of what it means to be an actor, what are the practices around acting. There are a lot of books, a lot of also books, handbooks that are related to the practical work, or more sort of theoretical books, but they're always very specific to a theme or to a technique. Or the other books are more general books about theater, science, and they're also connected to the writer position and the directing and the aesthetics. So then it came this idea, and Øystein applied to the research funds here at the school, and with this money started to do a lot of things and activities. This festival is a consequence of that, as you said, and in order to try to get a grasp on the work of the actor. So he wrote this book, which is a sort of introduction. This is the goal of this book. Is not to, the way I understand it, is not to talk about the art of theater. Is not to, but it's really sort of to make an introduction for people that are interested in acting on a sort of more general understanding of the history of the art of acting and the specificity of the practice and theory behind the art of acting. So there comes my first question. Was it okay, contextualization? Mm-hmm. Yes? Good.
Very nice.
So here comes my first question. I mean, it seems to me that you have been, and I read the book, it seems to me that there are a lot of problems when it comes to sort of try to grasp the specificity of the art of acting, because some things, yes, you could attend some workshops, but I don't think you attended some workshops about Renaissance English theater, or I don't know. So could you explain to us what kind of struggles, what kind of problems you met, both in selecting the practical work, but also in trying to find the sources for your book?
I did attend some workshops about Renaissance theater, but anyway, I think what is maybe the biggest challenge to make such a book is that acting is not considered as a kind of, or it's not already framed what the field of acting is about, as theory, as praxis, because this book and this kind of overall research is not done. If somebody has done it, it's, for instance, performance studies or theater science has talked a lot about acting, but then it's from the theater science and performative studies perspective, if you understand what I mean. So it's another way, I feel, than to just, okay, so what is acting for the field of acting? If you're gonna see it from the position of the actor or the position of the acting field, what do we see then? So that's the biggest challenge, actually, and to try to understand what you see from that position uniquely, and not from the position of the director or the dramatist or theater science and so on and so on. Because it's a field where I feel it's colonized by so many other fields and so by many other perspectives. So to find this field and then to make some space for it, that's a bit challenging. There are actors, of course, during history that has tried to do this, but not like they try to make find a field for themselves, not forcingly for the acting as such.
So where do you start in your book?
Well, I start to define some. I start to try to define some contracts. That's the basic of my book, I think. To define some basic contracts of what we see when we see a person on stage, or what the person on stage wants us to see. That's the basis of my book. And I think the book is a little bit like going through history and with the perspective on the contract. If I just should mention him very fast, it's like I think we can talk about 4 main contracts of what we see when we see a person on stage. We can see the human, which is standing there with all the history that he or she brings in. We can see what I call the actor, which is the person that comes in with a craft and shows us a craft. Some of the jungles, for instance, is obviously they show us the craft in itself, and that's interesting, or puppet theater. And we can see the role, which I define as the element of a bigger dramaturgical structure. So you're there on stage to serve the story or the aesthetics of the whole play. And then in the end you see a character, which is meant to be another kind of person with another history, another background. So human, actor, role and character is what I find the 4 most important contracts. And during history we have focused on different, the main focus has been on different on them. But of course you can have all 4 at the same time on stage also. It's in the end it's a question about the spectator's interpretation, not even about you as actor. I said yesterday, I always look at the human on stage. I don't know if you remember, but that's my choice, right? you can't, you as an actor can't, you can't stop me from looking at you and thinking, I wonder what she ate for dinner today. Wonder what she's gonna do later today. Wonder what she's thinking about now. You know, so I don't know if that was.
Yes, I was also interested in this thing, the problem about the sources. I mean, it seems to me that a lot of things you could just read about. So what do you do? How did you create this ground of sources? How did you move? Because you sort of switch. You go through very different periods. Also, for example, in the Middle Age, and you talk about the actor, the priest as actor. And so how did you research, for example, some areas in history where there is very little documentation about acting or what did you do?
It's that's kind of complicated, because before you come to the Renaissance, it's very hard to say so much about acting, because there are very few sources, very few write about it. It's just fragments here and there. So the first big thing, where we have a lot of stuff is around Commedia dell'arte. So before that, it's mainly, I mean, it's a complicated thing. You have to go through specific research, which is done from artists or archaeologists or this kind of thing. So then you start, when you're going to deal with acting from ancient Greek, for instance, you have to go look at very specific research. For instance, interpretation of vase paintings, you know. And in order to understand the interpretation of vase paintings, you really have to go into the vase paintings as well. So it's kind of a complicated thing. For instance, how do you use voice in the ancient Greeks? This is an interesting topic that came out of someone trying to see how the original masks works, and then through recreating the original mask, there came a hypothesis that the resonance of the body the ancient Greek actors used was not from the chest or stomach or the torso, it was from the head. So they made the resonance in the head, which is interesting, strange new, which nobody writes about the voice in ancient Greek text. Aristotle was not occupied about that. So it's a lot of different sources, mainly research done by experts.
So you combine this research, which is both practical, you put yourself in the position of a lot of the students here and try a lot of different workshops and find sources that can sort of give you an idea of what the role of the actor was at the time. And then how did you structure this material? Because I've read your book, and of course you try to be sort of to make an introduction, but there is, as every book, there is a sort of there is a narration. There's always a narration when you organize some material. You create some hierarchies. You create a way of looking at things. So how did you organize your material? So how did you organize your narration?
Yeah, and what to have in there and what to not have in there, and so on.
And are you satisfied about that now that you're done with it?
I'm a deeply unsatisfied person in general, but I think it's chronological. Okay. Partly, it's like this from that to that period, and then we go through topics, and from that to that period. And I think that to make it's like kind of old thing to do today to make chronological history books. You know, if you write a topic, don't do it chronological. It's not like the cool thing. You should do it topical, or through some symbols, or. But the reason why I also wanted to do that is also what you mentioned. This book. I don't know this book. I mean, one of the main reasons to write it is just doesn't exist, and I really searched for it for many years when I started to work at the theater school. So to make it like easy accessible, it's easy to find was important for me, and you can put up the book wherever and start to read. That was important somehow. So this was some kind of, because I never read these kind of books from beginning to end. That's really boring. So it should be you should be able to read wherever you want, and so it should be easy accessible, easy to get into.
Like a sort of catalog, or
catalog, but also of course there is a narration, and there is like I mentioned this for contracts. Is for instance an important, like we go through history with this, and what's another thing I was thinking of? No, so so it's a chronological order, but also what to have in. Yeah, that's a problematic thing, which Of course, I will and have been. Well, also, it's easy to criticize. Oh, why didn't you have more about this or less about this? This is very hard to, find out.
The balance.
Balance, yeah. But I also I also was based myself on different works, like in theater history and so on, which I also referred to in the beginning, because it's strange to find something very small that nobody writes about and just blow it up. But in the cases I do, I think I argue for it. I try to. So try to make it transparent. Try to make it easy to understand what you're doing and find sources yourself and so on. Messy answer.
No. But when you do make these chronological sort of separations, some of these transformations, they also overlap each other, or they go parallel, or they start from before. So in a way, you make also a choice of when the sort of acting strategy is more relevant. Am I correct with that, or how do you feel about this? I mean, when you decide to talk about certain performance studies or stuff, I mean, you could problematize and say that a certain idea of device or performance is rooted much before where you're located in your book.
Oh, yeah.
So you sort of also give us an idea of when certain ideas of acting become more consensus or sort of more popular in the history. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, of course, you can problematize, which I also mentioned, but the concept of devising theater is a new concept, right? But of course, actors have always devised theater. I mean, they have been in the room together to create a performance. So absolutely right. But the concept of the devised theater starts in the 60s, 70s. So it's so when does it get an idea, a concept? So what is important for me, I think, is what Richard Dawkins called meme. I don't know if you concept of meme, but Richard Dawkins talk about genes and memes. And a gene is information transferred through the genetical information of the body from one generation to the next, and it's biological foundation. And the meme is an idea. It's an idea, tool, technique, what is mote? Fashion, something like this, which is in the culture and is being passed on as a meme. Okay? So what I'm occupied by is the acting history's memes. The ideas that is kind of transferred through history and it is still with us, and has changed history. So that's what I'm occupied about. What has changed the perspective on acting fundamentally, these memes. So, and I think that most of the book is about the memes from 1850 till today. That's the main part.
Can I ask you, who did you write this book for? Who do you think is the reader of this book? Are it actors? Because it's very interesting from also the critiques you received. It's hard to sort of frame it as who has to read this book, because according to who reads this book can find more parts more interesting and other more because it's a hard task you gave yourself.
Yeah, and I'm much more occupied. I mean, I'm happy to have all these reviews from people working in theater and film, but I'm very interested in also our general public. So I was thinking about like two ideal readers, as a kind of or acting student, and people in the theater field, actors I know, that's like, but should have some kind of wider understanding of the field. That's like one of the ideal, and the other is like someone just being very interested in theater and movies, and just want to enlarge in the also what is going on in acting, how is it created. That's kind of the two main readers I think I was thinking about.
Yes, so a more general and more specific reader.
A general and a specific reader.
Yes.
And the general reader, but the general reader is very important for me because I think there is a huge problem, both in the field of culture but also for actors, that acting is so little known as a field in the general public. What is it about? How is it created? And I think it's super important for people to know, because I think the way we make acting on, I think actors has a huge power, okay? I think actors introduce an idea about human through theater and movies. And this idea about human is strong. This is a meme. This is something that introduced the way we are perceiving human, what they are, how they are built up, what are the causalities in humans and so on. So I think also a general public should be aware and also critical toward how actors are using their position to create characters, roles, and so on, how they are performative. Because this is such a film and theater. Personally, I think this film and theater, stories, novels is the most important thing, shaping our understanding of reality. So this is why I think these topics are fundamentally important in our society. So also, this is also a reason for this to be out in the public, should be a discussion in the public.
Do you feel that with this book you also try to answer to a need in relationship to other theory practitioners and students in relationship to try to sort of invite them to contextualize the work they do in their practice? It seems to me that there's a lot of, each one does his work, and there's a very, not all the time, an awareness of, okay, I work with it this way because this works for me, but how am I in a bigger context? How do I place myself in a bigger context?
Yeah,
this is also one of the goals of this book?
Not maybe so like very conscious, but yes, I think you're completely right. And one of the things I always, but of course you understand my personality need these things, but when I get into these workshops, I was like really missing contextualization. Like asking us to go there on the floor and, you know, cross over our intimity zone, but why? You know, I don't know why. So I very much missed this kind of contextualization in the workshop I was in, to understand why are we doing this? What is, okay, this exercise in this moment, so how should I understand that I have to just give my own self over to it? Of course, I can give myself over to exercise, I have no problem, just let me know why, a little bit.
So can you tell us a bit about your experience as a non-actor attending very, very professional workshops with very, very professional actors? How did you, what kind of feedback about yourself as a literature scientist did you receive? How do you see at actors now? Did you change the way you look at actors and acting teachers, or?
Yeah, absolutely, and on myself, very much. I think everybody should do acting training. Really, it's such a, you learn something about yourself in a way that I can't imagine another way that you can learn. So I think in the Renaissance there were pedagogues arguing for that acting should be a normal part of the education of people. I completely agree about that. So that's maybe the one that changed most was me, maybe. But looking at, it's a very big question. How I see actors after attending. It's more about, I think I have more concrete understanding of an actor's vulnerability. And that's important, I think. To have this respect for the vulnerability that comes with being an actor and how you have to put yourself in hard positions and how hard it is. I could never be an actor just because I couldn't stay in that thing day after day. But it's really something profoundly vulnerable about this spot for me, being performative. I think it's very complicated, personally. So I have a deep respect for this, I think, that I developed. And I think which maybe also is not so much of in a general public when we talk about acting.
Where do you go now after this? I mean, are you finished with this? Are you going to continue, or did you feel that you have explored all the possibilities? What is I mean, this is a very many years of your life researching on this, and you're not an actor, you're not going to be an actor, but where are you going after this book?
With the field, me and the field of acting?
Yes, do you feel the need to write more, or?
Right now, absolutely not.
No.
Because I kind of feel that there was something I needed to understand about acting. Actually, it's very strange how I came to the theater school. I just woke up one day and had the idea I have to call the theater school and teach there. It happened like this. It's very crazy. It was a very intuitive thing. So I just called to the theater school and started to insist that I should teach there. It was right after my studies. Very interesting. I didn't give up. I was just calling, every day, and then okay, what is this crazy guy? We're gonna give him a lecture. So this is how I started to teach. So there was a very intuitive impulse in me that said that I need to understand something about acting, and maybe I should hang out with actors to understand. So maybe that something would happen. I don't know. Very intuitive. So so I think for me it was also a journey to understand what it means to be human and be looked at, what it means to be human in a performative situation, what it means to communicate in this specific way. And I think we come to realization about a lot of the things. So it's been like a journey which now I think is ended. But it's not like I'm not going to work with acting or actors again, but I think it's a new phase, and I have no idea what comes out of that.
One last question that I open to the audience. How do you feel this experience has changed your way of working with actors? Because I mean, you both work in the school. Just to summarize the things you do with actors, you work with actors both like teaching them theory, and then you help them develop their own projects. This is your pedagogical relationship to actors. And then when you make your theater performances or films, then of course you work with actors. And it seems to me that you work very personally with that. You choose actors even before the project is written, so that you develop very much the work with them, both in film and theater. Yeah. So how this experience of getting the step into the shoes of actors have changed your artistic practice when it comes to the meeting with actors?
Yeah, I think what you mentioned, that I work with people that I know, and it's getting more and more like I want to know them better and better. It's not like I'm getting, I can work with someone I don't know. It's the opposite. It's a bit strange, but for me it's a very personal thing to work with actors, and I think what I've become is completely eclectic. Like I don't have like one perspective on how you should work with acting or with actors personally, but I do understand people need a specific craft. This I have huge respect for. But myself, I think you should do whatever that works. But I also have, I think, a bigger patience in putting actors in confusement and insecurity. Okay, I think for me personally, I think actors tend to go, my experience is they tend to go too fast to a solution. Oh, we can fix it like this, we can do it like this, then it works, make it like this so it works. I don't like these solutions fast. I like us to just, just delay the moment where we find a solution. Because for me, the longer we delay the solution, the more you bring with you all the levels, I feel. So I have a longer stamina of not letting the actor go to the safe place. Because I really love these places where we have no idea what is happening, how are we going to do this. I think me personally, think we should stay there first and foremost.
Okay, thank you, Øystein. So I would like to open that to the audience for questions, and
we have a couple of mics there.
Yeah, we have a couple of microphones, so it's just for our recording.
Thank you for a good talk. I was wondering if writing the book and doing the workshops and all the work that you've done up until now has given you a new perspective on how your process was when you made a movie, but how your process as a director.
If I've been thinking about that?
Yeah, if that's given you any kind of, if that has been anything that you've been thinking about. Or,
yeah, I'm so embarrassed how I did it. Because it starts to realize, why did I do that? Because you gain this knowledge about more effective or better ways of doing it. Yeah. I think I was talking down the actors, but I guess you can guess. Like I was really explaining them what is the foundation of this character, foundation of this scene, you know, in a very philosophical way. I'm like, and how are you gonna act that? You know? And it's it's my way of dealing with the world, you know. But sometimes you just have to shut up, and maybe I've learned this a little better.
Thank you.
Yes, Maria.
You can. You have one more mic now.
Hello?
You have it. Okay. No, it's here. Okay.
First, I don't think that's your way of dealing, that you just talk over people.
No? Thank you.
No, it could be complete opposite.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to say I was really moved by how the respect. The question is, did you write about every workshop and techniques that you attended? Or all the different techniques that you attended?
Not every. No, I didn't actually. There were some mask workshops and stuff I didn't write about. And the reason is because we were more original, but I was still curious. I was curious also of how would I react on these things, you know. But of course, the most workshops I attended was like specific ways of working that I was curious about. See how would I react. Yeah.
Can you just say some of the workshops you did?
Let me see. I don't remember anymore. Well, I've done Commedia dell'arte workshops. I've done some workshops with some French composing, based on the French composing. I've done Chekhov. I've done Meyerholt, some Tostanogov things, some German things, method actings. Actually, all main American method acting ways of working.
So you mean Meisner and
Adler, and Strasberg, yes. And of course, both Spolin and Keith Johnson, of course. Some Lecoq. I've been to some conferences for also like anthropological theater, and I've done a lot of psychodrama, of course. Yeah, I think that's the main thing that I can recall right now. Yeah. So everything from a weekend to like 14 days or something. Yeah. And different physical, also some Japanese, but I don't write about outside of Europe. So it's which is a shame, of course. You should write a book about the whole world, but it's just too much. So I have to kind of say stop somewhere. But somebody should write that book as well. But it's a bit difficult because Asia, for instance, has as long acting tradition as Europe and as many and varied styles. So if you're going to write that book, it's going to be probably bigger. So
you just refer sometimes when it comes to some of the techniques in the book that are dialogues with, I don't know, Balinesi or Gorgev or things that have to do with Asia, you refer to.
I refer to it when it has been important for the influence of Western acting.
Yes. Yes.
You said that it changed you to take all this training, and you got to know yourself. If I'm wrong, if I'm right, in a better way. And you said everybody should take a training to get. And some places like in Uruguay and Brazil, for example, dance and theater is now part of basic education.
Yeah.
Do you think that should happen in Norway?
Absolutely.
Do you think this book is a part of it? Like, do you think you have a responsibility socially, and this could be a part of it? How far do you think Norway is from that? This theater thing being part of everyone?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Wow.
What do we need to do, students, teachers, institutions?
Yeah, I think we on the theater school we have done a bad job when it comes to this, because I think the traditional institutions in Norway has been very occupied by separating between we are doing art, the rest is doing some amateurish things. So this idea about the artist actor, which should work on an institution theatre, has been very strong in the theatre school and also in institutions, which then and it's getting more and more, as also you are saying, it's getting more and more artists, actors on a high level being more and more curious about social theatre in Europe. England, for instance, has a lot of this, also Germany. And I think this is something that is coming, and it says something about our society. You're perfectly right, and that this book is written now also says something about society and our interests. So I think we are in front of a change. I think we are in front of a big change. I mean, only you guys that knows Nesodden play, right? Which is kind of okay, we are mocking the old amateur tradition play in Norway, but on the same time we are giving ourselves over to it. We are testing it out, okay? I think this is going to happen a lot more. I think social theatre is going to be much more important for institutions and professional actors in Norway and directors. And it's and yes, it's very important, I think, to have people working both sides. Not clear answer maybe, but yeah. So it is changing.
Yes. Okay, then I have, if we are if you don't have more questions, I have some questions for you, since we are the survivors of a long week.
We're gonna have to sit there for 3 hours.
No. No, but I have some questions for you, because now we are at the end of this 3rd edition. And I start actually from a very, I want to be ideological with this question. This festival is not done without a lot of sacrifices and hard work, to be honest, because this institution is not really back. I mean, it's not because they don't want, but I mean, it's very much our initiative.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. And in order to continue to do this, we will have to have some changes from institutional level. But before we go in this fight and personal decision, it would be interesting to hear from you your thoughts about this week, and what do you think where do you think we can bring this concept forward? What was your place in this? Or share some thoughts, brainstorming about what will happen this week from your point of view.
What happened?
What happened? Yes, what you experienced.
Oh, I think the participants should answer that question.
Yeah,
But,
it wasn't for you, huh?
Huh?
It wasn't for you.
Oh, thank you.
It was for them.
Oh, thank you.
So shut up.
Thank you.
So is there someone that wants to share some thoughts about participating? I mean, we made this week together, and
we also have a paper we want to give you all.
yeah, we're going to give you a paper.
Where you can answer anonymously, okay? So this is for the discussion part.
That's very good.
Yes.
I think it's been a really good week. Thank you. We're from Vesterdals, the
Yes.
acting education there, and I think just as a means of closing gaps between acting schools in Oslo, it's a very good thing. And I know you have this Glasnost, but obviously when this is including absolutely everyone who wants to join, and it's like a volunteer basis, I think it's really great, and we learn that maybe we're actually not that different from each other, you know, KU acting students and Vesterdals acting students. So I think it's, for me at least, it's giving me a more respect for them, and I feel like we have like more of a mutual respect and understanding, and we also want to work together. It creates this nice creative environment with mutual respect for each other, so I think it's great.
So if I can decode, you think the platform as an open structure for practical exchange is in a way a good premise?
Yeah, and the more the merrier, from different places, the
Yes.
merrier.
Yes. Yes, Maria?
Yeah. I just nei, jeg har ikke formulert det. But I really just feel it's a very important thing on a personal level
Yes.
to meet all the other, it's just like, shit, I can really formulate it, but it feels like a very big thing, very expanding, very intense learning and realizations, a lot of realization. I've been to this festival before and also in Italy, and it always like, I understand something so new and so big in such short time. So it's almost like a magical thing, this festival for me. Yeah, I think you should keep up good work and just fight to continue this. Yeah.
Thank you.
For me, that comes from the field of psychology. I'm completely new to this, and I have learned a whole lot through this week. So I really just want to say thank you, because you have touched so many topics and so broad. So I agree with Maria, you get the big picture kind of, and it's understandable and yeah, very, very interesting. So thank you.
Yes, we have there and there.
Yeah, it's been really good, and I study in Scotland, so it's been really good for me to just come back to Norway and kind of meet Norwegian students as well. It's been really good, and I think the mornings have been really interesting, and I think Øystein, you've been so well prepared, and it's been so you've taken everyone really very seriously, and there's been a lot of respect. And so I feel like I really understood more about the schools they come from, and yeah, thank you. And I hope my school, I really want to work for more students from my school to come here next year, hopefully, or yeah, I'd be really interested in that, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
I want to add something for that. It just feels like it's a historical event, like this happened, this guy started to sing, and then it changed the history of acting.
Forever.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I was just, it's more of a question. I've only been here for the talks and discussions. About the panel, is there a reason why there's no Danish school present in the panel, or is it just because it's so close to the Danish or the Norwegian
No,
education
it's a practical
system?
reason. We invited them, nobody could come.
Ah, okay.
Well, Odin Theatre is here. Odin
And
Theatre
then,
is Danish.
Yeah,
Also-
I know, but Odin Theatre is not a school as has been.
Yeah, but it's
It's
no,
institution.
we've worked really hard for that.
Okay.
It's not easy, you know, to find people that
Have the time and
Yes.
the opportunity.
We have a good relationship with the Danish school.
It's just
Quite
that
close.
the practicalities were made it impossible. So
Right.
Actually, there is a few less connection between Sweden and Norway when it comes to acting than Denmark.
Yeah,
It's
Denmark is
strange.
very-
Sweden is far away. It's
Especially-
further away than
especially-
Germany for us.
especially Stockholm.
Yes,
Stockholm is
it's very.
it's a world to explore.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Why is it so far?
Yeah, good question. Why?
Well, I think it's a matter of also there is a structural problem between the university and now and you know sometimes it's a matter of things just happen. There are teachers that worked here, that worked in Denmark, and then so they create sort of develops a relationship between the schools. We have had a common dean between Denmark and Oslo, and so yeah, and we have had more meeting points than with Stockholm, and so
Yeah, quite similar history with the Danish schools. But there was a corporation in the. This is nerdy information. Not because of the research, but there was a lot of cooperation in the 70s with the Swedish.
with Panka.
Yes, with Penka. Then it kind of
Yeah.
stopped. There's a huge festival in Stockholm in 70 something with Penka, which changed Nordic acting totally. It's a revolution, I think. Then Yeah, no, it was a weekend thing, and Penka showed his work, and everyone was like, wow, this is ingenious. And then Penka was starting to traveling in all Scandinavia, and there was a close connection between Stockholm, Oslo, and København.
Yeah, the shifts, but then, for example, when there was the shift with Toscanago, Stockholm was not part of that. Like, you know, Denmark, but Oslo and Copenhagen, they were very involved in this shift with the Toscanago tradition, from Penka to Toscanago, and then made a strong connection. Stanley?
I also just want to say that it's really nice when you go to a school in Europe with 8 or 7 other people, very intense. It's really nice just to shuffle the cards and just go out and meet some other people and being out of your comfort zone in that kind of sense. And I'm from Denmark, so when I go back, I would definitely say to them that they should come next year and make time for this, because it has been really interesting.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this week.